Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a new episode from Fusion Talks. So, about our guest today, Assaad Saadeh is a seasoned water resources and environmental management expert with over 25 years of international experience. He currently serves as regional head of water resources, environment, and community relations for the Asia, Oceania, and Africa zone at a leading multinational FMCG. His expertise spans sustainable water stewardship, water governance, climate resilient water strategy, and community center engagement. Are you ready for today, Assaad?
I'm ready.
Can't wait. So, previously, head of water resources at Lebanon Ministry of Environment and former university professor, Assaad also leads the Nature Care Association, an environmental NGO, and co-manages Mazak, a family business offering organic products. With a master's in engineering geology and hydrogeology and an MBA, he blends scientific knowledge with grounded purpose. This episode of Fusion Talks is an invitation to reconnect with water, not just as a resource, but as a vital thread that links people, nature, and planet's future. So, Asad, the water, there is an invisible crisis that connects us all, and we will be starting with a theme to explore water's critical role in ecosystems, societies, and economies, unpacking the global crisis, what's causing it, and what each of us can do. So let's look at the big picture. How bad is the global water situation today? Can you give us a snapshot that grounds us in reality?
Absolutely. First of all, hello, Yasmin, and thank you very much for hosting me in this beautiful office. Thanks for you, for the team behind the scene, and for all your audience. So, coming back to your question, today the water situation globally is not in a good shape, I can tell you. Unfortunately, around 4 billion people today have problem of access to water or problem of water scarcity at least once per month.
More than half of the population
It's
on
almost
Earth.
exactly, it's almost 1/2, 50% of the population today. So this is a huge number, and of course this is leading to water health issues. I mean, water related problems, etc. So the situation overall is not good. And I can share with you a map. I bring it with me
Yeah,
here.
please do.
If I may share with you this map, the world map. So this world map, Yasmin, is showing the water scarce area. So beside the yellow part, all the colored part are geographies or countries that are facing water scarcity today. So you see, it's a huge area of the world today that is facing
All
this
over
problem.
the globe as well, across all continents.
I mean, it's across all continents, absolutely.
All right, thanks for sharing this. It's a sad situation.
Of course, I mean, the situation is not good, and it's not sustainable. also.
Alarming,
It's
yeah.
very alarming, absolutely. And thank you for highlighting on this topic.
What do most people still misunderstand about water scarcity and water quality?
So basically, water quality, I would say, and water scarcity are very much connected. Because when you have a water quality issue, when you have pollution, it affects your available water resources, and it affects it, of course, negatively. So you'll have less water available, so the water will become more scarce. So this is the problem. Water scarcity and water quality are very much interconnected, indeed.
Why water is both scarce and overflowing? We see a lot of contrast in the world following, what's happening in the weather patterns, climate change. So, can you explain the dual challenge of droughts and floods?
Yes. For sure. I mean, we talk a lot about water scarcity, but we should talk indeed about water challenges, because indeed we have a lot of water scarcity in many countries, but we have also the problem of water overflowing and floodings and floods. So in some countries, true, we have scarcity, but in some other countries, we have floods, like in Southeast Asia and other countries. So we should talk indeed about water challenges.
I hear you. So, why are we here? What are the root causes? What forces have brought us to this water crisis? Is it purely climate change? Can you shed light on that?
Yes, of course, climate change is very important and has very impact on this crisis. The increase in the temperature, the global warming, is affecting very much the water scarcity. Why? Because in dry area where already the situation is very dry, the soil is dry, and with the increase in temperature, the soil is getting drier. So it's worsening the situation. And in areas where you have already a lot of rain and lot of humidity and moisture in the air, with the increase in temperature, you have again more humidity, so more rainfall and more floods. So the climate change, of course, is affecting very much the situation. But also, the population growth. You have more population, more
True.
consumption, which is affecting negatively this
Aggravates the
situation.
stress, the withdrawal.
Absolutely. I mean, you have more population, so you need more water to supply the population with water. You need to dig more wells because most of the water is coming from underground water. So you need to dig more well, and it's affecting the groundwater table. So we reach in a phase, if you want, Yasmin, that um, the number of population and the needs, the resources for the local population is not anymore sustainable compared to
The
the
availability, what
availability,
is
the
available.
utilization of these resources.
And there is a shift as well in the patterns of the water life cycle, even the currents in the ocean. All of this is affecting the natural disasters impacting water, like floods, the icebergs melting.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, this is what I was trying to explain, that the increase of temperature is affecting directly the water cycle, and the area that is already facing scarcity is in a worse shape with the increase of temperature, and the area that has already issue of lot of rains is facing more of floods. And talking about the water cycle and the water availability, do you know that the fresh water available on Earth represent less than 1% of the total mass of water in the world? More than 97, 98% of the water is in the oceans and in the sea. And the remaining 2% of water, big chunk of it is trapped in the glacier. And the remaining 1% is available for consumption.
And
So
unfortunately, the glacier, they are as well melting at an unprecedented rate. So this is all gone to the seas, oceans, mixed with
absolutely, we are losing
saline.
as well this resource.
How do rapid urbanization, population growth, which you tapped into, and industrial development worsen the crisis?
Yeah. So if we talk about population growth, again, population growth, we need more consumption of food, more consumption of water, and for the different usage of water. So we need to tap more into the available resources, and this is of course aggravating the situation. When you have also urbanization, all the cities today that are developed, they are developed on spaces, on the detriment of forests, sometimes wetlands, water habitats. So it's also aggravating the situation. Also, in context like where we have floods, this urbanization is affecting also negatively the flooding. Why? Because when you have roads, when you have buildings, infrastructure, asphalted area, and cement, you are indeed blocking the soil, because the soil naturally is porous.
Yes.
So when you have rainfall, normally the rain
It absorbs
should go into the ground and should infiltrate to the groundwater
to recharge the aquifer.
to recharge the aquifer. So when you start building roads and cities and
You're
cemented,
suffocating the natural way of how water seeps
basic,
into the ground.
absolutely, you're clogging all these pores. So the water cannot infiltrate anymore, and the water start to run off. So this will aggravate the situation of the
Instead
floods.
of capturing those natural resources that are coming from
Absolutely. And also,
rain.
you know what? The infrastructure is not following also this rapid growth of population. You know, all the drainage system today,
The pipes
the
are
pipes,
old.
etc. They are old. They need maintenance, and most of the time, the cities and the governments are not coping with this rapid increase of population. So they are, fully utilized, and leading to a lot of crisis
Yeah, this
in
needs
floods.
rehabilitation, investments.
A lot of investments.
Yeah, and to evolve with the urbanization and the whole planning of cities.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Can you share a surprising example where policy or cultural behavior made the situation worse or better?
Um, okay, as an example, I can share with you an example in India,
Okay.
where the government decided to support the farmers to reduce their cost of fuel and to support them to subsidize the wells and to equip their wells with solar panels and with solar panels, which means free electricity.
Yes.
So the idea was to reduce their cost in fuel and to support them. But what happened indeed is that the farmers get access to free energy from solar panels, so free energy and free water. So they start pumping and unfortunately overpumping. Overpumping. So this overpumping led to a decrease in the ground table of more than 100 meters.
So the incentive, which was supposed to, let's say, repurpose the need, led to an exaggerated behavior.
Yes.
Some lack of mindfulness, which
Absolutely.
worsened the situation.
It worsened a lot the situation, and it affected the groundwater, and it dried. I mean, the groundwater table dried in some areas. So the effect was very negative. The idea and the intention was a good intention from the
Exactly.
authorities to support the farmers, but we ended up with a big problem with the groundwater table.
So I believe that's why it always goes hand in hand when we say public-private, partnerships. The interventions, maybe before being scaled, they need to be piloted to assess the post impact of such interventions that are purposeful but might have segues
Absolutely.
to negative.
And this is why we do also environmental impact assessment sometimes for big projects.
It's highly important.
Yes, to assess the different impact of big projects.
Water, biodiversity, community well-being, pollution, everything.
Absolutely, from different angles.
Including habitats.
Including habitats.
So water continue to have ripple effect on the social level, on environmental as well frontier. So how does water insecurity affect poverty, migration, and social stability?
Yeah. Of course, I mean, it affects poverty and insecurity, social stability, but how? I will tell you how. I will give you a few examples in different countries. Let's take the example of Yemen, for example. The problem of water scarcity affected the groundwater table, and the wells that the farmers used to use became dry. So half of the population are farmers, and they ended up with dried wells, so no water to irrigate their crops. So unfortunately, it affected them. It hit them very badly, and of course,
their livelihoods,
their income, etc.
Exactly. That's all what they do.
Absolutely, it led to poverty. We have other examples in Syria, for example, with a lot of drought, continuous drought in 2010 that affected more than 1.5 million farmers. And of course, when the farmers are affected, in their income, they have to migrate to the city, and this might
extremely challenging. On their livelihoods, on their health, on their well-being. It's not only poverty; it is
and might
And
take
the
to social
quality of
unrest,
life, the
quality of
quality
life.
of life.
Absolutely. I have other examples also from Sudan, Darfur. Also, the competition on water had led to social unrest in Chad, around the lake of Chad, because the lake surface is shrinking with time, with the problem of water, of global warming and water scarcity, and with the shrinking of the lake, the farmers are losing their job, and they are also migrating to the cities, leading to social unrest, etc. A lot of examples in Ethiopia. Also, the continuous drought.
Around the Nile as well, there are some challenges
Yes, around
with
the
the
Nile
neighboring
basin.
countries.
So all these problems are leading to poverty, and the poverty
To
are pushing the
migration.
people to migrate to the cities or to other countries, and migration is leading to social unrest.
Because
And
they are changing their whole ecosystem, the whole support system that they used to lean on.
absolutely,
And it's not easy to be reintegrated sometimes in other social fabrics where some people might not be welcome, or they might add to the stress on the existing natural resources.
true. So this social unrest is affecting again negatively the water scarcity,
It becomes a vicious circle.
and it becomes a vicious circle.
Yeah, indeed. So, what toll does it take on biodiversity and ecosystems as well?
Of course, it affects very badly the biodiversity and the freshwater systems. Today, 21% of the IUCN Red List species are affected by the water scarcity, and they are,
On the verge of being extinct.
extinct. Absolutely, 21%. I can tell you that 83% also of the freshwater vertebrate disappeared from 1970 till today. 83%.
Wow.
That's huge. 35% of the wetlands globally disappeared. I mean, this is
This is shocking. These facts are,
This is very alarming. And 98% today of the surface water globally were affected either by water quantity or by water quality. 98% since 1980 till today. So there is a direct effect on the freshwater species and the biodiversity that is very much linked to these freshwater surfaces.
and these are the tipping points when we discuss planetary boundaries, the societal boundaries being as well exceeded. It is a whole chain of negative ripple effect because in the end, everything is interconnected.
Absolutely.
Every single species, organism has an added value and value creation in nature, which will bounce back negatively when the system loses its balance.
Absolutely.
And
it's all
these facts are
interconnected.
mind-blowing. So that's why it is really key to take charge, agency responsibility by businesses, people, governments, because the numbers are already talking.
Yeah.
And we cannot stay idle anymore.
Absolutely.
So let's discuss solutions. Where the big levers are. So if we want to discuss, look at the big rocks of the issue.
Yeah.
Can you help us zoom in and understand where's the biggest weight, where water is being consumed?
Absolutely. I would say today the agriculture sector is consuming the big chunk of the water today globally. More than 70% of the water is consumed by the agriculture sector. Because food requires a lot of water. I mean, to produce 1 kilogram of meat, do you know how much water do you need?
It's not top of mind, but I remember it was shocking. So when I order a steak or a hamburger, I continue to think about the number of gallons of water.
Yeah.
So
I will tell you, it's 17,000 liters.
What?
17 ton of water are required to produce 1 kilogram. 1 kilogram of meat. To produce a kilogram of rice, we need 2.5 tons of water. For a cup of coffee, small cup of coffee, we need 140 liters of water.
Can you explain like how this is calculated? Like where is the starting point to account for the whole water footprint?
Yes, of course, you calculate here the full value chain. Like for
The
the
life
meat, for
cycle.
example, absolutely, you calculate the amount of water needed for the crops,
Yes.
to grow the crops, the water needed to feed the animals, the water needed for the processing of the meat, the full value chain. We're talking about it here. For the milk as well, for 1 liter of milk, you need 1,000 liters of water to produce 1 liter of milk. It's a lot. So, and for the chocolate, for example, the chocolate is also big consumption of water because
Water
to grow
intense.
the cacao, etc., is very water intense. For 1 kilogram of chocolate, we need 17 tons of water are required.
Maybe the milk chocolate worse than the dark chocolate because
Absolutely.
of the
Milk and
and what
something
goes
else.
in terms of methane gas and feeding the cows.
Absolutely. So here we can see, I mean, the impact of the food requirement. So the agriculture needs a lot of water, and the food requires a lot of water.
So agriculture, of course, it's the backbone of food systems where we source our raw material, and watering in agriculture, the irrigation as well, it is a focal point. So what methods or crop shifts offer real hope?
Yes.
In your opinion?
I mean, definitely, if we need to make an impact, we should start with the agriculture, to work on the agriculture use and efficiency of water. How we are, for example, irrigating, as you mentioned it. How we are irrigating the crops today.
Yeah.
We can change. I mean, one of the methods is to improve the efficiency of water irrigation. Today, the most used water irrigation is the flooding system. So the farmers are flooding the crops, and this requires a lot of water. If you shift from water flooding method to drip drop irrigation, you reduce 30% of your water consumption. 30%, and on the global scale, it's huge.
Yes.
We can work as well on improving the crops and working with more resilient crops to water scarcity, or crops that can sustain more brackish water than fresh water. I know there is a lot of research on this field, how to make the crop more resilient to brackish water, for example.
What is brackish water?
Yes, brackish. Good question.
Because maybe not all the audience
You're right.
are technical.
So we talk about fresh water. So fresh water is the water that we drink.
Yes.
It is a water that contains a little bit of salt.
Okay.
We measure the salt by the TDS, total dissolved solid. So we're talking about a TDS less than 500 ppm, part per million. So you have the fresh water from one side, you have the seawater from the other side, with high salinity, like 40,000 ppm of salts. And in the middle, you have the brackish water that is between the fresh water and the salty water.
This water exists in wells that are close to the coast?
Absolutely. So closer to the coast, you have brackish water because it is a mix between the seawater and the fresh water coming from the continents.
Okay.
So along the coastal area, usually you have brackish water.
Okay. So when it comes to drip irrigation example, like who can you advise farmers, and we have millions of farmers, to adopt such methods, and who can help financing such matters?
Yeah, this can be the private sector can play a role here. The governments can play a role. NGOs can play a role. So yeah,
environmentalists. So agriculture is 70%. What's next in terms of water gravity? Where it is sitting?
Yes, I mean, we talked about the agriculture using like 70% of the water, but we have also the industrial part that it is using like 20% of the water globally. So 20% in the industry,
manufacturing,
in the manufacturing industry, etc. And I read this morning that 150 companies, the top 150 companies, industrials globally, are using more than 30% of the total industrial water supply.
So how can such companies meaningfully reduce or reuse or regenerate water?
Yes. Uh, First of all, they can start reducing their water use inside the factories. They can work on the water efficiency of their equipment, on the leakages, and make sure that every drop they consume in the factory is used in the most
Not
efficient way,
wasted.
not wasted. So improving the efficiency. Next, they can work on reusing the water. Reusing the water. You know that we have a lot of gray water, wastewater coming out of the factories. And we have a lot of companies today working on recycling this gray water, reusing
Creating
it,
a loop inside the
creating a loop.
factory.
And a lot of factories today have zero liquid discharge. Zero liquid discharge. It means all the water
Captured.
is captured inside the factory. Nothing is going out. Everything is recycled and reused.
Nothing goes to the waste sewage.
Nothing.
Brilliant.
Zero. Yes, this is great. So here the big companies, they can do a lot on this to improve their efficiency and to use less water for more productivity.
So back to industries. So other than having targets that are bold on waste, zero waste to landfill, let's as well pledge to have zero waste on water. And
I can mention about regeneration
yeah,
as well.
please. I'm curious about this.
Yes, because working inside the factory is great. Improving the water efficiency inside the factory is wonderful, but also
Not enough.
not enough, never enough. Now we have a lot of companies that have commitments, bold commitments on water replenishment or water regeneration. And when we talk about water replenishment or water regeneration, it's outside the boundaries of the factory.
Beyond the operations.
Beyond the operations. It's in the catchment area. So they work on replenishing the same amount of water they are using for their processes.
This is very interesting. And I've mentioned in your introduction that as well you lead on community interventions. Are those connected when it comes to regeneration and interventions with community projects?
Yeah, absolutely. This is very much interconnected because the replenishment projects are executed within the watershed with the community, hand in hand with the community. So the idea is to define the water challenges in the catchment where the factory is located.
What could be a challenge, for example?
You know, there is no one challenge. It depends on the context.
Definitely, this is very local.
Yeah, I mean, okay.
But to demystify it,
absolutely,
we want
I will give you examples. Since from the beginning we're talking about water scarce area, and areas with floods. So I will divide into the examples. In water scarce area, example of regeneration can be water harvesting, for example. When it rains, I know it doesn't rain a lot, but when it rains, you can collect all this water and use it.
Safeguard it.
Yes. We can do projects on irrigation, drip-drop irrigation.
Again, with the farmers.
Supporting the farmers to shift from flood irrigation to drip-drop irrigation. So the private sector can play a role, and this is also...
And even guide the government. They do look for good practices that big companies can
Absolutely.
inject.
They have the knowledge, they have the technology, the innovation, so they can support the farmers and the technology and in the financing as well. Desalination. Desalination also is a great example of replenishment.
We are living in the desalination era in Dubai.
Absolutely. So you're turning the salt water into fresh water, and you are enhancing the water cycle. So all these are examples of water replenishment. You have also other examples like wetland restoration. We have a lot of wetland that has been degraded with pollution, with eutrophication. So if you restore these wetlands, these wetlands are a great spaces to filter and to store water. So if you have floods, your wetland, if it is properly restored, can be a buffer to store water and to filter water to improve the quality. It's a natural filter.
Okay, and it is as well a home for biodiversity, for a lot of animals, species, insects, whatever, that can create the right environment for nature to thrive, and the community.
And the livelihood for the community, the fisheries, etc. So by restoring these wetlands, you are replenishing and regenerating the water cycle. Restoring rivers. we have a lot of rivers also that were blocked and I worked myself on a lot of projects like this in Southeast Asia where the rivers are blocked. The communities were not able to use them
Blocked with garbage or waste, or blocked
with waste and also with eutrophication, with invasive species.
and weed, maybe.
I mean, different kind of invasive species that blocked the river, and the local community were not able to use it again.
To navigate,
To
like
navigate.
transport their goods or...
Absolutely, for fishing. So by rehabilitating again these rivers, you bring life to the rivers, and you restore the you help replenishing the water cycle. All these are examples that the private sector can support the local community and the catchment and enhance the water cycle in the catchment area.
Thinking out loud, we're not hearing enough of such examples. I think, be it on media or reports or activists, we hear a lot about initiatives in planting trees, renewables, be it the wind farms, be it solar panels, maybe work with farmers on a human rights approach. But when it comes to water, those beautiful examples are precious. And I believe a lot should be done on amplifying this awareness, and to have like archives, libraries about such deeds, purposeful deeds that are creating the right impact for community, for safeguarding water and nature, so that they can be there at the forefront of the attention.
Yes.
Yeah, that is not common knowledge. Like when it comes to water, we hear about oceans, okay? Oceans, marine life, microplastics. So, but the rest of waterways, water regeneration per se,
yes,
I think it's still dimmed and underrepresented.
You're 100% right. Also, it's recent. I mean, this approach is also recent, but you're right, Yasmin. There is not enough talk about these examples.
It needs higher share of voice. So
Absolutely.
I'm glad we're utilizing Fusion Minds AI platform with you, Assaad, to inform our audience and create this much needed awareness. What does being water positive really look like? We hear about net zero when it comes to carbon, neutrality, but water positive.
Yeah.
What's in it?
We're hearing a lot about water positive now, with companies targeting the water positive. Again, it's a link to the water replenishment in the catchment. So water positive is about regenerating as much water, at least as much water as the company use in the watershed.
And to go beyond?
And to go beyond. Let's say the company is using 100,000 cubic meter per year for the processes. The company's objective will be to regenerate or to replenish more than 100,000 cubic meter per year to become water positive. And a lot of companies now have targets to become water positive.
Targets, measuring, assessment, and I believe even auditing this whole process.
Definitely. I mean, there are now international associations that audit the projects and the metering, the volumetric water benefit of every project to be able to give you at the end the kind of certification of, yes.
One of them is the AWS.
Alliance for Water Stewardship is the most recognized certification for water stewardship and for water management. I mean, the big companies now are also targeting to get certified AWS to certify all their projects in terms of water stewardship and water management.
In terms of quality, the right impact, and how legitimate as well.
Yes.
Factual, the whole process is delivering.
Absolutely. And certifying as well that they are using the best practices in the sector. Mainly this.
So there's another recommendation to follow. And that's how we will become more responsible, by really raising the bar. And so we discussed agriculture, industry. Is there still a low-hanging fruit?
Of course, I mean, the domestic use of water.
Yes.
Everyone is using water in the house, on the tap, in the shower,
washing
the cars. this represents like 10% of the full water consumption. Definitely, we should continue working on reducing the leakages in the houses,
And the gardens.
the gardens. Yeah, be careful on the way we are, using the water inside the houses. But again, I would say there is important part coming from our habits. I mean, how do we behave? What do we eat? We were talking about, the meat, the milk, the chocolate. What do we eat? What is the water footprint of every meal we take? We hear a lot about the carbon footprint,
Yes.
but not enough about the water footprint of the products.
Very true. Only maybe if I mention to buy the DEWA bill,
Yeah.
it can alert you if really there's a leakage or overconsumption and there is a benchmark.
Yeah. So the food that we
The
consume,
choices.
the choices, the clothes that we.
Cotton
I mean,
versus
the cotton for a shirt.
Denim has a very high footprint, water print when
Water
it
print.
comes in. Yeah.
Yeah.
its
A
production.
cotton shirt needs 3 tons of water.
One shirt?
One shirt, 3 tons of water.
Oof.
A pair of jeans need 10 tons of water to get, produced. A pair of shoes, of leather shoes, also 10 tons of water.
If we look at these, we feel guilty.
Absolutely.
in everything, what we eat, what we dress.
So our choices have direct impact on the water.
And we take it for granted.
We take it for granted.
Unfortunately, most of us.
Because we don't see it, and there is not enough awareness.
It's seamless.
About it. We're talking a lot about the carbon footprint of the different products, but for me, not enough about the water footprint.
Exactly. So underscoring again that really awareness on the water footprint, the water usage, saving water, the scarcity, because this is the vein of life. So it's not only about turning off the tap. It is the whole lifestyle as individuals, and then it goes beyond around all the efforts governments, industries, are really acting on.
Absolutely.
So this requires system change. From system change to personal action, what role do communities and individuals play in this global equation?
Yeah. Everyone plays a role here: community, private sector, public sector, government. The communities, they have to set the rules, to influence the individuals. So everyone has a role here. Communities, like the government, like the academia, NGOs, etc.
Absolutely. It's always collective efforts.
Collective effort.
But we need to be conscious that we have to play a role as people, not to only see, we need to be glued to others for a difference to happen, or to blame or point fingers. If sometimes in some countries, there's a lack of appropriate action and efforts from authorities. So let's move to fire questions, and I love this section. Are you ready for it?
Let's see.
Pour water on the fire. The most undervalued water source. What is the most undervalued water source?
For the most undervalued water source, I would say the gray water or the wastewater. Because for every cubic meter water you use, there is 1 cubic meter of water that is wasted in the gray water. This water can be treated and recycled.
Excellent.
Yeah.
One product you've stopped using for water reasons, or maybe diminished?
Yes. I would say meat. I'm eating less meat because of its water footprint.
Okay, but not a vegan yet, or
not yet.
Yeah, in between.
Probably on the way.
A natural place where you feel most connected to water?
I feel very much connected to water in the mountains, next to a river or a spring, natural spring.
And I know you love hiking.
Absolutely.
So I'm sure
Absolutely.
This keeps recharging you. What's one habit or mindset shift you'd ask every listener to adopt starting tomorrow?
Yeah. So for the listeners, I will not, recommend one habit to change, But on the other hand, I would ask them to look on the water footprint of every product they use, every thing they consume, to look on the water footprint. It's not yet on the label. Hopefully one day it will be on the label, so it
I
will be
wish.
easy. It will be easy to track, but they can, search it on the web and be conscious of the water footprint of everything they use.
Yeah, excellent tip, Asad. What is your wrap up message? Something you wish to leave with our listeners?
I would like to leave you here with a story. It's a tribute to my cousin Benjamin. God bless his soul.
Amen.
He left us a few months ago, but he used to like this story. It's about the hummingbird. The hummingbird is a very small bird in the forest, the smallest bird in the forest, indeed. So once upon a time, there was a forest fire, big forest fire, and the animals were, terrified in this fire. There was a chaos in the forest. They were trying to escape, and didn't know what to do. Except one single bird, the hummingbird, was very busy going to the river, fetching some water in its beak, coming on the fire and dropping the water on the fire.
This tiny beak.
Tiny beak. So one of the animals was annoyed by this hummingbird with his back and forth, going, fetching water, throwing it on the fire. So he asked him, "Hummingbird, are you crazy? I mean, do you think you can turn off the fire with what you're doing?" The hummingbird said, "I know I cannot turn off the fire alone, but at least I'm doing my part.
I'm trying.
I'm trying."
So, what a beautiful story. I love this analogy because, in the end, it's not about standing idle when there are challenges. It's about exerting effort. And no matter how big or small, it's about being responsible and acting. And that's how change happens. So, what a great episode, Asad. Water really teaches us humility, urgency, and interconnectedness. Through this powerful conversation, you reminded us that while the water crisis remains largely invisible, it is also a shared opportunity to act, adapt, and care more deeply for our planet and one another. Your ability to weave science, heart, and real world insight into one current made this episode truly special. Thank you for inspiring us, Asad, to protect water not just as a resource but as a source for life. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And don't forget to share, like, and wait for the lined up episodes. Take care from Fusion Minds AI.